Hello everyone. I'm a Vietnamese American refugee who's been living in Asia for the last 15, 20 years. And today, in this video, I want to share with you my thoughts on the real estate market in the US. So, after analyzing hundreds of real estate deals across California, Arizona, Michigan, Florida, all across the US, I've come to the conclusion that there really aren't any good deals. So, if you were to buy real estate today, you're either someone who's really desperate, who really wants their own home, or you need a place to stay because you have a growing family or something like that. And if you can afford it, go ahead. Otherwise, stay away from the real estate market as we speak. And after doing all of my analysis over hundreds of deals, your gross return is probably around 5%. No joke. 5% is your gross return. Because the prices are too high, interest rates are about 7% still. You know, they say it's under 7%, but that's for people with perfect credit. And it's for people who meet certain conditions, like you got to be employed, you can't be self-employed, all these different criteria in order for the interest rate to be lower. But normally it's just say 7% is the interest rate. And if it's a 7% interest rate and your return on investment is 5% at best, what's the point? What's the point of even doing it, right? And that assumes that your tenant pays on time, you don't have any major repairs, etc., etc. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. You're better off putting your money in a high yield savings account, which pays about 3 to 4.5% as we speak, depending on which bank or financial institution you go with. So there is no point in investing in real estate right now. It's just totally stupid. Your money's not liquid. You deal with bad tenants. And just a little bit of background, I used to be a heavy investor in real estate in Arizona, in California, in the Las Vegas area, Nevada, in upstate New York. I was a major investor. I had plenty of units, I had dozens of units at one time. But I decided to sell everything because people don't pay rent. It's the harsh reality. People just don't pay rent for some reason. Either they said they can't pay, they lost their job, or all these different reasons. People just don't pay. And obviously at the time, I was targeting the wrong demographic. I was buying cheap properties, fixing them up, renting to people who don't have money, and it just wasn't the ideal tenants, and that's why they didn't pay. But at the same time, even now that I'm doing my analysis, even if people are paying, it's a measly return of 5% gross. So what's the point? So the only thing that's going to happen is that, look, investors are not going to buy real estate right now. There's just no way. And if they did, they'll buy with cash and negotiate at least a 10 to 15% discount at a minimum. They might even get a 20% discount. They might even be able to ask for fixes. Oh, fix this, fix that. Just because prices are too high in comparison to what you're going to get in rents. Property taxes are really high right now. If you've been searching Redfin, Zillow, those different websites, Trulia, you're going to see, look, everything's expensive, and it doesn't make any sense to buy any real estate right now, unless you're fucking desperate. You just have to buy. 2026 is not like it was in 2015, 2016, 2017 when I started investing in real estate. At that time, prices were still really low. And obviously rents were not as high, but at the same time, property taxes were not that high. A lot of things were not that high. So you can still make some money, but right now as we speak, you're not going to make any money if you invest in real estate, unless you can negotiate a really good deal. So what do I mean when I say a really good deal? I'm talking to realtors right now in the state of Michigan, in Arizona, and what they're telling me, look, if somebody is listing a rental property for $200,000, as an example, if I'm going to pay cash, I want to get it for at least 180, a minimum 180. Maximum 180, maybe 175, and you could probably get it. Because look, sellers are trying to sell, sellers are getting desperate, but obviously that's not going to be in the news. Mainstream media would not tell you that the real estate market is struggling, but it is. It's struggling. If me, analyzes hundreds of deals objectively, cannot find a lot of good deals, or barely, maybe 1% of deals are good. But, and what's a good deal to, what's a good deal to me? So to me, a good deal is, look, if a property in this specific location goes for at least $400,000, $500,000, but they're selling for $200,000, but it requires $100,000 of repairs and renovations. That's a good deal. But you, besides coming up with the money to close on the property, you still need to come up with $100,000 cash to fix up the property, to get it into shape, so that you do make it a good deal. So, and that's not, and right now people are cash strapped. Trust me, I've been in business for a long time. I do loans, I do commercial loans, I do everything in terms of business. And look, even if you're able to get money, it's going to be at a really high interest rate, 12 to 15% minimum for commercial loans, hard money lending, stuff like that. You're getting a really high interest rate. And with that type of interest rate, you're not going to make any money. I mean, just even the standard mortgage, right? I mean, you borrow at 7% and make 5%, who's winning? The person who's winning is the person who's helping you transact. The realtor, mortgage lender, and when I say mortgage lender, it's really just private lending. Good luck trying to get a bank loan for Bank of America. You're going to go through some sort of private lending lender who's going to charge you 3% fees on the overall price of the property or the overall price per loan. And at this point, it just doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to invest in real estate. So the conclusion I've come to is like, look, if you need to buy because you're desperate, then buy if you have the money. But if you're trying to buy real estate just to flip, rent to people as an investment, you're better off just putting that money in the money market. Seriously. I mean, real estate is dead. And it's not just in the US, by the way. Right now, I'm based in China. I mean, property prices from its peak have dropped like 40%, 50% in China. And real estate has dropped everywhere. Real estate's dropped in Vietnam, it's dropped in Cambodia. I'm working with a realtor in Cambodia, looking for, vulture deals. And she's telling me people are just trying to offload. A lot of sellers are trying to resell their units at cost from pre-COVID prices or below cost, just to get rid of it and get their money back. So the game is over, basically. Real estate, the game is over. And any realtor who tells you, oh, hey, you know what, any realtor or lender say, hey, it's a good deal, you should buy now before prices go up. That's fucking bullshit. You could tell it's fucking bullshit. Who's buying? Seriously, who's buying? Ask yourself, who's actually buying? Do you know people around who are buying? And it's a great investment? They're probably buying because they're either loaded with money, they got plenty of money, they don't give a fuck. They'll buy a place whatever they like. Or they have to buy. They need a place to stay and they don't want to pay rent. Or they have a growing family, they need a property. That's different, right? Otherwise, who's buying? Who's buying to invest? Tell me. You tell me. I just, it's not happening. And I've analyzed hundreds of listings, hundreds of deals, condos, single families, multi-families, everything. There are no good deals right now. So what would I do right now if I'm sitting on a ton of cash, which I'm not? But if I were sitting on a ton of cash, I would wait. Because if you listen to experts like Melody Wright, I mean, she's really on point. Listen to Melody Wright or experts like that who are not trying to sell you a house, not trying to sell you a mortgage. Anybody who's trying to sell you something, forget it. They're not going to tell you the truth. But listen to Melody Wright. She's an analyst, and she'll tell you that, hey, wait until Q4 of this year or wait until Q1 of next year. You'll see huge price reductions because sellers just can't hold on anymore. People are getting desperate. Sellers are getting desperate. And that's when you can make an offer. Offer a cash deal or offer, 20% below listing. You might get it. So is the economy looking good? No, it's not. And if you haven't noticed, the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. My analysis says that right now we're not seeing the full effects of the closure yet because we're not yet in Q4. Right now we're still riding the wave of cheap energy. That's from 6 months ago. Whatever got out of the Strait of Hormuz before February. But that's going to end soon. We're going to see spikes in pricing everywhere. And it's my honest opinion that governments are not telling people the truth. You know, that if they told people the truth that, oh, you know, there might not be enough food, there might not be enough fertilizer, gas prices would go up a lot. There might be a lot of hoarding. There might be a run at the bank. So nobody's going to tell you the truth. Do your homework. Read up on the actual stats. You know, and this video is about real estate, but in general, the economy doesn't look good. But if the economy is not looking good, who's going to buy real estate? Like, seriously, think about it. The only way you can make money on real estate in terms of appreciation is if someone else buys it from you at a higher price. But if that person doesn't exist, or there's too much competition, what are you going to make? So, you know, wait. If you got money, sit on it, put it into a high yield savings account, wait it out. But if you must buy, try your best to pay in cash, because I mean, borrowing at 7% to get a 5% return is just retarded, you know. And I'm talking about, you know, these bigger pockets bros, you know, investors borrowing at 7% to get a 5% return. Come on, man. And that's assuming everything works out the way you want it. So that's all I have to say for today. And thank you for listening.